much. Welcome everybody. My name's Nicky Bodily. I'm the CyberEPQ lead. We're going to do introductions as we go along, so don't panic. But I just wanted to start by saying good afternoon and thank you very much for taking the time to join us today to hear about the CyberEPQ and the benefits of completing the qualification. The really good news is from the people that we had registered for this session, we've got a really nice mixture of students, prospective students, teachers and people from industry. So I'd just like to say welcome to all of you and thank you for your time today. As I said, my name's Nicky. I'm the CyberEPQ lead here at CIISec. And there's lots of big things.
I'm Emily Harfield, the School Liaisons Officer for the CyberEPQ.
And you can see some other people on your screen here. They're going to wave at you at the moment, but we're going to introduce them properly when they do their little talks with you just shortly. But we've got some lovely guest speakers lined up for you to listen to in just a tick. So let's move on to our next slide. So I'm just going to start by giving you, first of all, thumbs up. Can you see the webinar overview on your screens before? Excellent. It's always a good start to make sure that you can see the screen. Just going to give you a quick overview on what we're going to be covering in the session this afternoon. So Emily and I are going to be talking about the CyberEPQ as a qualification. So all the important details that you'll need to know, what the course requirements are for students and for supervisors, what the benefits are for completing the course and how many UCAS points it's worth. We're then going to talk to you a little bit about Cyber First and how the CyberEPQ plays an important role in the Cyber First pipeline. And then we'll go on to explain a bit about how students can enrol in our current extended cohort. And then the bit that probably you've all tuned in to listen to, you'll get to hear some first-hand experiences of the CyberEPQ and where it's led our guest speakers too. So first up, we'll be introducing you to Phoebe. Phoebe is our CyberEPQ graduate who completed the course last year. Phoebe is going to talk to you a bit about what made her choose the CyberEPQ in the first place, how she found the whole process of completing the course, how it's benefited her and what she's going on to do now and what her career aspirations are for the future. So Phoebe's our CyberEPQ graduate. Then you're going to meet Andy. Andy's our CyberEPQ supervisor and head of computer science at a large secondary school in London. Andy's going to explain why his school offers the CyberEPQ and what's involved in the process and how it was set up and how it's managed. Importantly, he's going to be sharing his lessons learned and that will be useful for both students and supervisors alike. And then touching a little bit on the impact that completing the CyberEPQ has had on the students and the progression that it's enabled them. And then our final guest speaker is Lucy. Lucy's our client delivery director in secure behaviour and analytics for Think Cyber. And Think Cyber is a UK company that develops products that reinvent the delivery of end user security education and awareness training. I think I've got that right, Lucy. So Lucy's worked in the cyber industry for a number of years, and she's going to talk about the day-to-day security awareness and perhaps some of those non-traditional routes into cyber that you might not have thought about, and hopefully expel the myth that you've got to be a techie to have a cyber career, because that's certainly not the case. And then we're going to round up the session by inviting you to think about how you could help build the future talent pipeline by becoming a corporate sponsor. And then we'll open up the floor to a Q&A session at the end. So if you can save your questions till the end, that would be really useful. And you can ask any question from anyone on the panel. But first up, we're going over to Emily, who's going to take a detailed look at the CyberEPQ. So I'm going to change slides. And Emily, it's over to you.
Thanks, Nicky. So first up, let's take a detailed look at the CyberEPQ. The course is a Level 3 extended project qualification that is accredited by the Exam Board City and Guilds. It is the equivalent to half an A-level and is usually studied alongside other A-level subjects or BTEC courses. It is also worth up to 28 UCAS points, which is a valued add for many students who wish to go on to university. While many schools offer their students the opportunity to take a standard EPQ, the CyberEPQ is the UK's only EPQ dedicated solely to cybersecurity. It differs from the standard EPQ because the taught element is delivered to students through online distance learning modules on our platform, the Moodle. So students are required to complete 10 mandatory modules, which cover a broad variety of cyber topics, including Introduction to Cybersecurity, History of Computing Cryptography, Cybercrime, Risk Assessment Management and Governance, which is split into 2 parts, so part 1 and 2 making up 2 modules, Security Testing and Vulnerability Assessments, Digital Forensics, Incident Response Management, Identity and Access Management, and Security Audit, Compliance and Insurance. Students then have to go on and complete 1 out of 3 of our specialist modules, which are available, Human Aspects of Cyber, Pen Testing, and Software Security and Architecture, but students have access to all 3, so nothing stopping them from accessing all of those modules. As they finish each module, students need to complete a journal highlighting the main learning points which they will then use to help them decide on a project direction. Once approval has been granted for their project idea, students will go on to write a 5,000-word essay, evaluating as they progress through the course using their production log, and finishing with a presentation of their findings and learning journey, which they will then deliver to their supervisor and school cohort. The overwhelming majority of our students are enrolled through their schools or colleges. This is my role as a school liaisons officer to push the CyberEPQ out to schools so that they're aware of it and also know how to apply it within their school, while also encouraging all gender diversity, neurodiversity, and widening the scope of students of all socio-economic backgrounds onto the CyberEPQ. Schools will have a teacher or tutor who have agreed to act as a face-to-face supervisor for the CyberEPQ. Supervisors do not need to be cyber experts to be CyberEPQ supervisors. They just need to be able to mark to a set assessment framework for which training will be provided by CIISec. You'll hear more about the role of a supervisor shortly from Andy, but be assured that CIISec will be on hand to provide support for both students and supervisors through regular emails and team calls. Please do not be daunted by the CyberEPQ if this is your first time thinking about offering the CyberEPQ in your school. We support students and teachers as much as we possibly can, as we know that teachers already have a lot going on. This has been reflected through many supervisors returning with new cohorts year on year, and new supervisors often telling us how supported they feel going through the process for the first time. And they even have their own area on the Moodle, which is full of guidance and information about the course. Our cohort numbers have been increasing in the last couple of years, mainly due to funding that we have received from the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, or DSIT. The funding targeted at sixth form students attending state schools in England is helping us to encourage a greater diversity of enrolments. Funded places are still available on our extended 2023 to 2025 cohort for students who are eligible, and we will look at the enrolment process shortly. All students who successfully complete the CyberEPQ not only receive their grade certificate, but also become eligible for a free year of membership to CIISec, opening opportunities for networking and having access to the CIISec skills and knowledge frameworks. CIISec are also building links with our academic partners who recognise the value of the CyberEPQ and often lower grade expectations to students applying for their degree courses. Even if students do not intend to go on to further study, the CyberEPQ makes a great talking point for interviews and demonstrates personal skills and attributes that would be attractive on a CV. Cybersecurity awareness is also important and highly regarded in all career paths to adopt safe practices online. This will reduce cyber attack risk and prevent unauthorized access to systems, network, and technologies.
Thanks, Emily. That's a really comprehensive look at the CyberEPQ and what it involves there. Just going to change slides and talk a little bit now about the CyberEPQ and CyberFirst. So the CyberEPQ has achieved the NCSC, which is the National Cybersecurity Centre, CyberFirst brand recognition. So some of you may be aware of CyberFirst already, but for those of you that have not, a little bit about this. So it means that we have been recognised as a high quality course which successfully supports young people to improve their cybersecurity knowledge. So therefore, the CyberEPQ has now become part of something called the CyberFirst pipeline. And you'll see that on the next slide. Emily will tell you a little bit about that. So for those of you who may not be aware of CyberFirst, their activities and courses are designed to encourage students into a cyber career, right from Key Stage 2 all the way through to Key Stage 5 and beyond into further and higher education. Schools and colleges that demonstrate commitment to providing a structured approach to high quality cyber education can apply to be CyberFirst schools. And the applications and assessments are carried out by a regional partner close to where they are in the country. So there are 3 levels of CyberFirst recognition for schools and colleges, and they're bronze, silver and gold. So for a bronze award, a school has to be aspiring to provide excellence in cybersecurity education. The silver award, so slightly higher, is when they're actually delivering good standards of cybersecurity education. And the gold award, the pinnacle award, is when they're delivering excellence in cybersecurity education. And we do work already with a number of schools that are already CyberFirst awarded schools. So the schools and colleges that have been awarded the CyberFirst recognition receive benefits, which include, this is from NCSC, which include being formally recognised and promoted by the NCSC. And they have opportunities to engage with local and national companies and universities who want to support students through their time and resources and expertise. They also can become a focal point for CyberFirst activities and have the opportunity to be part of CSE Connect, which is a national cybersecurity education network. So now I'm going to change slides again, and we're going to go back over to Emily just to talk briefly about the pipeline.
So this is the CyberFirst pipeline, and as you can see, Nicky's going to wave her mouse. That's the CyberEPQ, which is in the advanced section. This document is actually an interactive document, so we're going to pop a link to it in the chat because you can click on the different parts, and the CyberEPQ part will actually take you directly to our website, so you can have a look at that. So if you are at the start of your CyberFirst journey as a school, the CyberEPQ will help evidence your aspirational goals to deliver good cybersecurity education to achieve the Bronze Award. Or if your school have already been given a CyberFirst Award, then the addition of the CyberEPQ helps to evidence the delivery of good or excellent standards of cybersecurity education within your school, helping you to achieve a Silver Award or maintain your Gold Award. The CyberEPQ, like Nicky said, is predominantly aimed at students in Key Stage 5, and so forms a part of the advanced section of the pipeline.
That's lovely. And as Emily said, we'll put a link in the chat for you there. So if you want to access it, thanks, Izzy. I can see that's done. You can access that document directly and it's interactive. So now a little bit about the extended cohort that we currently have still open at the moment. So we run the CyberEPQ over 2 main cohorts. We have a 1-year cohort that runs alongside the academic year. So on that cohort, most students enrol when they return to school after the summer holiday period. But we do actually open that enrolment from mid-June. So if you've got eager students that want to get cracking on those modules over the summer holiday, it is open to them then. The final submissions for that 1-year cohort submit the following spring. But to provide some flexibility, because not all schools run their EPQ programmes from the autumn to the spring, we also have the extended cohort, which is the cohort that's open now. With the extended cohort, it's up and running from that same point in September. Again, the modules are available from mid-June, but the final submission doesn't occur until the November of the following year. So effectively, students have a whole year to work on the project if they wish to at that point. What we do, because there's only 1 point of submission with City and Guilds, we effectively hold those projects that are submitted in the November, and we wait for the corresponding 1-year projects to be submitted in the springtime. Then they're added all together and then they go through our internal moderation process before they're submitted to City and Guilds. So as I said, our current extended cohort is still open, and we do have funded places still available, but there is an eligibility criteria for those funded places. So the closing date for enrolling onto this extended cohort is Friday the 22nd of March. So time is of the essence if you'd like to take advantage of the funded places and you fit the eligibility. I'll talk about the I can never say that word, eligibility in a second. We do also take enrolments for students and schools that do not fit the funding criteria, but there will be a course fee applicable for those. And in these cases, for school-based learners, so that a supervisor provided by the school, but not within the funding criteria, the fee is £200 per student, which includes your City and Guilds registration fees. We can also take enrolments for independent students, and they're students who perhaps either are homeschooled or not in a school setting anymore, or their school is not happy to provide the supervision element. And again, we can provide, CIISec as an organisation can provide independent supervisors to support students through this process, but the course fee for this is £550 per student, which again includes their City and Guilds registration fee. So the enrolment is open, or will be open soon in June, for our next 1 year cohort. Lots of numbers, so it's a good job of being recorded so that you can clarify all the numbers. So our next 1 year cohort will be the 24-25 cohort. At the moment, we can't guarantee funded places from DCIT. We'll be in talks with DCIT to see what can be done on that score, but at the moment we can't guarantee funding from DCIT. But what we do hope to do is to be able to provide some funding through corporate sponsorship, and we'll talk about that at the end of the session. Hopefully all that will be sorted out in the next financial year. So now I'm going to stop my sharing my screen, and we'll go over to the people that I'm sure you've all really come to listen to, and that's our guest speakers today. So we're going to start. Let me stop sharing before I forget. There we go. Hopefully, have we stopped sharing? Yeah, we have, haven't we? So first up, I'd like to introduce you to Phoebe. As I said, Phoebe is our CyberEPQ graduate who completed the course last year, and she's going to share her experience of completing the course and where it's led you to. So Phoebe, over to you.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Nikki. So yes, I was on the 2-year cohort from 2021 to 2023, and this is just sort of aligned with my school, because my school also did just did EPQ as a 2-year course. So it meant that I was able to still do the CyberEPQ, but it meant that I was able to do it alongside all of my peers. So that was a massive perk for me. I thought, well, if it's available, then why shouldn't I? So I first found out about the CyberEPQ at a Cyber First course, actually, at one of the summer courses. There was a guest speaker who came in and talked for about an hour just about the CyberEPQ, and the CyberEPQ, and it just sounded incredible. They were talking for almost an hour about all of the benefits that came alongside the CyberEPQ. So as well as doing the EPQ and getting all of the skills and technical skills from the EPQ, you also got all of the benefits of talking with cyber professionals to get networking and stand out at an early age. So then the CyberEPQ process for me was very similar to all of my friends at school. My teacher was my supervisor, and I was able to do my presentation on the same day as all of my friends. It was just that the writing up part was slightly different, and I had a different exam board, but I always had Nicky on the other end replying within an hour to all of my questions. So I felt very well supported, and it was a very similar process to all of my friends. So I didn't feel like there was much more required from me to do well in the EPQ. I started off by using the online content on the Moodle, which was really good for me because I knew I wanted to do something in cybersecurity, but my interests are very wide. I wasn't entirely sure. So doing the aligned content in my free periods before researching was really helpful. And I really enjoyed actually finding out more about cybersecurity through the Moodle. And then once I finished the content, I was able to decide on my topic, which was what are the most serious threats posed by the Internet of Things devices in the home? And then CyberEPQ, with their network, were able to find a PhD candidate at the Royal Holloway University of London who was also doing a PhD on the Internet of Things in the home. And I was able to then network with this lady from the university and set up an interview, and she helped massively with my research. And I wouldn't have even thought to do an interview with someone in the industry were it not for the CyberEPQ. And then more on just how the CyberEPQ's helped me, I'd say that it's featured on almost all the applications that I've made so far. So for my UCAS 5 applications and a cybersecurity bursary, which I was accepted onto. And then I think it helped me land my offer with degree apprenticeship with PwC that I'm currently on, which was a very competitive course to get onto. There were 35 of us out of, I think, 400 to 500 on the course. And I think that it was a very unique part of my personal statement that made me stand out and someone to whitelist. And then more about the benefits of the CyberEPQ for me, I think the networking events and the networking in general have been massive. So because I did so well in my CyberEPQ, I was invited along with 3 others to the National Cyber Awards, first nominated, and then we were granted as finalists. And it was such a magical evening to sit at a table with all of the other finalists and hear about their CyberEPQs. And then because we did so well, we were then invited as our graduation to CIISec Live in Manchester last year, which was, again, a massively incredible day of just networking with all these massive bigwigs. And then earlier this year, it also meant that we were then invited to a workshop with BAE Systems in Manchester. So as well as the networking on alumni calls that CyberEPQ provided, there were also all of these physical opportunities, and I think it's massively helped with my confidence. And the other thing is my LinkedIn. And I keep saying networking, but when I first signed up for the CyberEPQ, I got an email saying how to set up your LinkedIn and write a encouraging bio. And if it weren't for CyberEPQ, I don't think my homepage would be nearly as cybersecurity orientated, and I wouldn't want it any other way. And currently now, yes, I'm on my degree apprenticeship with PwC, where I get paid to do my full degree while still having the typical university experience. So unlike most degree apprenticeships where it's 4 days working, 1 day studying, instead I spend my whole of my first year studying, and then I spend my summer holidays working. And then my 3rd year will be a year at place in industry. And it's a very competitive degree apprenticeship. And again, I think if it weren't for the CyberEPQ and all of the skills and just how unique it sounded, I don't think it would have been so easy to have landed a place on the course. And I'm currently doing the computer science degree, which is really interesting. And it's great to be able to have the freedom and free time away from A-levels now to be able to take part in the Ethical Hacking Society, an upcoming Capture the Flag, and interact with other like-minded individuals. And in the future, I do think I want to go into some sort of cybersecurity or forensics role, and I plan to stay with PwC for the foreseeable future because they have a lot of diverse opportunities available, especially within cybersecurity. And yeah, I have to say that the CyberEPQ has been an invaluable experience. I think all of the benefits that come alongside, there's so many things that just, you get an email to say, oh, there's going to be a talk with a penetration tester tonight, and all this and all of the in-person networking events. It's been a really good experience, so I would recommend it.
Phoebe, thank you so much. It sounds like a really, really inspiring story, and absolutely, what a fantastic young woman. That's in the chat.
Thank
I wholeheartedly agree. And I was so pleased that you could make it to live to come and meet us in person. So that was fabulous. So thank you very much, Phoebe, for sharing your experience today. Next up, we're going to introduce you to Andy. As I said, Andy's our CyberEPQ supervisor and head of computer science at a London secondary school. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So we've been running the CyberEPQ for 2 years now, and it's been one of the best things that we've actually started in the school. It felt from the start that it was going to be good, but I've really enjoyed supervising it. The students have got a massive amount out. We had, I think, 14 students in our first cohort. We ran both as 2-year groups, which really helps with the time scale. So I think there's any schools listening, that's definitely one of my tips in at the start. And it also, as Phoebe was saying, it's the same in our school, it matches the rest of the students that are doing the EPQ, so we can have the same hand-in deadlines. Everything feels a lot easier. So definitely the 2-year is much easier to work through. But we've had 14 students, 11 this year. A lot of them are the students that are doing the A-level computer science, but it's working really well for other students. If you're not doing computer science as an A-level, it fits in really well. Because cyber and cybersecurity, InfoSec is across everything, it's across every industry. And we found students, when they worry sometimes, the non-computer scientists, as it were, we get this feel from them that they're just worried that they won't be able to deal with the technical side, and it doesn't need to be technical. A lot of the modules that the students are going through, they learn enough in that to have that technical understanding, but they don't really need to get into the deep part of it. We have some students, especially the ones doing the computer science A-level, that have gone really into it. One of our presentations had someone talk us through a penetration test, and he'd mocked up through immersive labs, which we also had access or have access to from the EPQ. He'd mocked up the process of going through a full penetration test, and it was one of the most inspiring things I've actually sat through, because it felt like he was just coming in from industry and talking to us. It felt like we had a cybersecurity professional in the room. And it was, so a lot of the talks and presentations were really good. I was really proud of them, but this one just stood out on the technical side. But other students, especially if they don't have that computer science knowledge, have found it really useful that you can have something that's much more broad. Some have looked at like geopolitical side of things, the legal side of things, the ethical, the more day-to-day stuff in terms of how cyber affects people, like social engineering, which is much more accessible. So it's had that fit across lots of different people, and that's what I like about it. It's the flexibility. It doesn't have to be technical, doesn't have to be broad. It's whatever people do. Just someone coming into the room. Just in terms of the topic, so we had penetration testing. Some of the physics students have done quantum, so they've looked at quantum at the same time, so quantum computing and the effect that's going to have on the cyber world. AI is very popular, so lots of students are talking about AI and how that mixes in, which is fascinating, and it's great for us because we've got all of these people in the school going off and doing research that we can all. I love reading through their projects because I'm learning the whole time from it. And as I said, things like the legal side. So it's nice to have that mix. One thing, just to echo what Phoebe was saying, and I just love to hear what's happened since the EPQ, is we've had from that cohort, we've had so many of them go on to cyber apprenticeships or apply for cyber apprenticeships, apply for degrees, but they have a cyber flavour to them, of cyber modules available. And I was talking to it's actually the same student that did that amazing presentation. He's got, I think, 3 offers now. He's got 2, and I think there's another one coming. And he's now having a conversation with me about which apprenticeship he takes on. And they're all big name companies, and they all sound amazing. And it's such a nice problem for him to have. And it's not something he's worked really hard, but I don't think that would have happened without this. It couldn't have happened without this. So that's that's really inspiring. You get the UCAS points as well. That doesn't do any harm. It's really good for students that are doing 3 A-levels to add it on. And I think for me, I'm biased, but it's a lot more interesting than the general EPQ. You've got all of what goes with it, the learning that goes before it, the structure I think helps, and having that focus makes a difference. But it's really allowed them to sort of expand. And as Phoebe's saying, it goes on every application. All of their personal statements have it on. I added it to all of the statements that I gave for those students, because a lot are in my A-level class, so we're now that first group are in year 13, and it really enhances what they've done. In terms of top tips, I'll keep glancing down because I've made a list so I can remember them all. I think one, if you're a supervisor for it, if you're sort of helping the students through, make sure you share the milestones at the start, and you repeat those milestones and you share those milestones so they know where they need to be. If you're a student starting this, it's really important to follow those and keep on track with those, and speak to your supervisor if something's not quite right. If you're feeling like you're getting behind or you're not quite sure what you're meant to be doing, make use of the Moodle. So as a supervisor, get yourself all around the Moodle, looking at all the resources, reading through everything, because it helps kind of upskill you as a supervisor, it also allows you to signpost to the students what they need to look at, because there's so many resources on there. There's the 10 modules and the specialist modules that are really good for them to work through and useful as a supervisor to go through, just to kind of upskill if you don't have the knowledge. But there's so many other resources, so definitely make sure that you know your way around, whether you're a supervisor or a student, and make sure that's used. We already had the Gantt chart software on our systems, but getting the students onto the Gantt chart so they could start to plan with that, to plan out their project, which I think is one of those skills that you pick up from this that you might not expect to. And they can talk about that. And if they're ever getting interviewed and they're talking about a project, they can use that and sort of drop that in there. So I think that's quite a nice added bonus. The presentation is not just about the content, so make it a chance to review your project, talk about the different sections, because your supervisor will be sat there able to pick up some marks from that and add marks that you might have missed off from the other documents that you fill in. I think that's probably it. I think use that as a review of your process and make sure that you're scooping up everything on the presentation, and just enjoy the process as you go along, and just be curious about all of the different things you can learn about, because you might already have an idea of what you want to know about, what you want to research, but the broader knowledge that you pick up from the modules and the other things that we do, like immersive labs, I think really helps broaden out your experience. So even if you're very definite on what you want to do later on, that broad experience can be a massive help. All right.
Thanks, Andy. Great tips there. But also, Andy's been very modest, because he's also hasn't told you that as a school they were shortlisted finalists for Cyber School of the Year as well at the awards.
Because Phoebe mentioned
there,
it,
Andy.
I was going to mention it and then I forgot to mention it.
Oh, well, there you go. Good job I had it written down for you. But really, really, handy tips that you've given out there for lessons learned for students and supervisors. So thank you for that. So our final guest speaker today is Lucy. As I said, Lucy's our Client Delivery Director at Think Cyber. And Lucy, you're going to talk about those non-traditional routes into cyber, aren't you? And about not having to be a techie. So I'm looking forward to hearing about this. So Lucy, over to you.
Thank you. I hope you can hear me. My headset can be a bit strange sometimes.
Yeah, all good.
Fabulous. Right. Yes, so my name's Lucy, and I want to talk about the actual day-to-day of working in cybersecurity, and particularly how you can get into cybersecurity without being necessarily techie. This is coming from my experience of when I was in school, and my careers advisor told me to look at things like law and other things because I was a girl and I wasn't allowed to do technical things. So here I am, and I ended up in this space. So my background was I was a linguist. I did languages at uni. I did French, Italian, and Mandarin. But I was at a somewhat technical uni. I went to University of Bath. So I hung around with a lot of engineers, and I ended up doing my year in industry, which I cannot highlight enough how useful that was and how brilliant experience that was with Cisco. Big American technical company. I did this in Paris, so I was translating and teaching English, but also working on technical things as well. So you can sort of see a theme here. I then went into Vodafone, the phone company, in their graduate scheme on a rotational basis, and I did people engagement and getting people excited about things in various spheres. But I was very interested in security on the side, so it's all coming together. So then I ended up working for a big insurer called Aviva, where I worked in something which is called security education or security awareness. And this is a very new field of security where we basically focus on changing people's minds and their behavior when it comes to their online security, way of doing things. You can sort of tell I've had quite a wiggly career path, not the most traditional of entries, with a personal interest in security, a family background in psychology, work experience in marketing and people engagement, and a year in industry, like Phoebe said, and languages academically. I'm a bit of a mishmash. I'm not really your typical entrant into this field. But that's not to say there aren't a lot of people like me, and I don't think you should be put off by the fact that maybe necessarily you're not humongously into coding or very technical fields, because there is room for those different skills in cybersecurity. So security awareness is what I do, and the day-to-day role is hugely varied, and it's never boring, which is always good. As I said, it's basically changing people's minds and behavior when they're online. So teaching them the skills to recognize scams and criminal online behavior, and just how to be more savvy online in general. And I really love doing this because it's not just changing the minds of the people that I'm working for and working with, like, businesses. It's actually they go on and help their families too. They'll go and tell, well, I learned this in work today, you should be doing this. So you're helping their kids, they're helping their elderly relatives. So it makes me feel like I'm actually doing some good in the world. So day to day, as I said, nothing's ever the same. I have yet to have a boring day in this role. So it can range from getting involved in helping protect the business from live cyber attacks. I've done quite a lot of that. So if you like an adrenaline rush, there is that aspect in security awareness. It can also range to writing stories that engage people in cybersecurity, so you can get to be creative on day to day. There's also the graphic design side of it, because you have to attract people's attention, you have to catch their eye. And then this goes into more technical side of things. Technical, it's arguable here, but data analysis as well, because I have to understand people's behavioral patterns. I have to understand why they're doing what they're doing, and that involves sometimes looking at graphs and scratching my head. There's an element of behavioral psychology, and particularly in my current role. So this is making sure that I understand how people's minds work, and then angle what I do to make sure it engages them better, and they go, oh, I get that, and that's interesting, and I understand. I'm working currently using something called nudge theory a lot, which is what we do. This is how we gently nudge people to change their behavior without making them feel like they're being told what to do. So very interesting and new field in security to do this sort of approach. I also do presentations and in-person sessions about security topics. So, talking to people about changing their minds that way and getting asked lots of questions, and even doing sessions like this, going to conferences, standing up in front of crowds of people and telling them why security awareness is brilliant. And last but not least is understanding the geopolitical landscape as well. So I have to understand the world that we're operating in. I have to understand the news. I have to understand how everything, what is happening in the world. Because if I don't, it then means I'm on the back foot when it comes to security and cyber threats. So I have to understand what's happening. So then I can then relay this to people in simple language and say, look, this is happening. This is how you can protect yourself. So like Andy said, I'm buried in understanding deep fakes at the minute. That's a really big topic, and how that's affecting, politics and celebrities and all sorts of things. And also artificial intelligence as well, because this will affect all the customers I'm working with. So that's everything I think I can think of that I do in a day, but it does vary massively. But one thing to think about, even if you do go in non-technically, there is an option to learn these technical sides on the job. So I went in, as I said, as a language student, but I got my threat intelligence qualifications. So that's understanding what the bad guys do online. So the intelligence side of it. So I got my qualifications while I was working, as well as behavioral psychology ones, and also the general cybersecurity qualifications as well. So you don't have to have a degree in it, but you can do on-the-job qualification too. And also I got my CIISec full membership as well, which is just to add to that list. So that was quite a rigorous process, but it just goes to show all the things you can do, even though you're not technical at the base of it. So yeah, that's me.
Well, just wow, I think we'll just start with wow. But it just goes to show, doesn't it, that you don't have to be that stereotypical computer science student going down that route. There are lots of different routes in, and some of the work that Emily and I are trying really hard to do is to diversify the cohort and get it out there to neurodiverse, all genders, all socioeconomic backgrounds. There are opportunities open to everybody and for everybody. So Lucy, I think you kind of summed that up perfectly. So thank you very much. And thank you to all three of our speakers. We really appreciate the time that you've taken out of your day to share your thoughts with us and the people on the webinar. So thank you from Emily and myself. We just, before we go on to the Q&A, we're just going to have a brief look at our corporate sponsorship opportunities. Let me just make sure that's come up on the screen. There we go. Has that come up all right, Em? Can you see that okay? Lovely, thank you. So in the last couple of years, we have been quite fortunate because we've received funding from DCIT, the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology, which has been targeted at sixth form students, so students in years 12 and 13 that attend state schools in England. So that's the eligibility criteria for our funding. What we hope in 2024-25 is that we continue to work with DCIT if they want to work with us. But in addition to that, we hope to be able to provide some sponsorship through corporate industry. And that way, by having sort of more funding on board, we hope to be able to carry on increasing the diversity of the cohort and the students representing a wider spectrum of gender, race, location, ability, the works. So the aim is to become self-funding eventually. Again, as I say, we would like to retain those links with DCIT because it's been a really beneficial partnership both ways, hopefully. But what we want to do is, sorry, I'm just losing track of my notes. Bear with me 1 second while I find my place again, so we make sure we get the right things here, because this is the important stuff too. So as the CyberEPQ gains increasing recognition within the community, organisations hopefully will be able to realise tangible benefits from their investment. And what we'd like is for the CyberEPQ to be on a firm financial footing and become completely self-funded by industry in 3 years. It's a big ask, which is why we need your help to do that. So as a not-for-profit and charter organisation, any surpluses that we do have from investment will be ploughed back into the development programmes that we offer schools, adding enrichment to the CyberEPQ programme. And making sure that what we offer is a sort of a cutting edge and it's of a world-class standard. So we have been developing through strong links with employers through our corporate membership programme. We've been putting the idea out there about corporate sponsorship. We have about 70 corporate members currently, but what I would say is that sponsorship packages aren't necessarily exclusive just to CIISec membership. If there's anybody from industry out there that wants to get involved, we're ready to listen to you. So pin your ears back and see what we have to say. So our corporate membership straddles both private and public sectors, and we have a wide range of industries there, from manufacturing, banking, retail, consultancy, innovation and telecoms. But we'd really like to build and develop our links with industry and schools and colleges by introducing these corporate sponsorship packages, which you can see on the screen here. So sponsors may find it a beneficial way to influence the pipeline of future talent by perhaps sponsoring students from their local schools or colleges to go through the course, who then might possibly go on to have a cyber career with them within the industry. So smaller organisations may be more comfortable with the lower levels of sponsorship or just simply sponsoring a student through the course. But what we've done is provided a range here of different levels, ranging from £200 to sponsor an individual all the way up to £40,000. I nearly said 400,000. That would be good, wouldn't it? £40,000, which would be a headline sponsor. But the aim is that we're trying to accommodate all businesses, all sizes. So the benefits increase with the level of sponsorship, but include things like having visibility on our website through logos and information, having corporate links to specific modules of the learning content, perhaps even developing new content that can be added to the course, mentoring students, and then our sort of pinnacle Best Essay Award. So we'd be really happy to hear from any organisation or individual, whatever the size, who really wants to give something back and help us to nurture this talent that's going to be the future of the cyber industry. So at the end, our contact details will be on a slide. So Emily and myself, our emails will be there, but also the website address and socials details too. So please do make note of them. The webinar is being recorded anyway, and we will send a copy out to you. So if you don't manage to get them down now, then you can watch it back in the recording. So I'm just going to click slides. Bear with me 1 second, because I think, Emily, it's back over to you.
Yes, so now it's time for our Q&A. So you can direct any of your questions to any member of our panel. So you've obviously got myself and Nicky, the CyberEPQ team, Phoebe, our CyberEPQ graduate, Andy, our CyberEPQ supervisor, and Lucy, our Think Cyber industry expert. But I'm not sure if Andy actually might have had to pop away. I'm not sure if he's still on. So mics are muted just because there's quite a lot of you. So if you could direct your questions to the chat, please. And if you had a specific question for a specific person, if you could just indicate that in your question, that would be great. But I'm not sure if Andy's here, but if you still want to ask your questions, myself and Nicky can try and answer them. And if not, we can put them in an email to him if he's not on here. So yeah, any questions?
What I was going to just say while you were typing questions in the chat, if anyone's got questions, is there's roughly about sort of 15 minutes left of our planned session. So I don't know how many questions are likely to come up. If we get to the scenario that we've got too many questions and we could be here till 8 o'clock, what we'll do, if we'll make note of the questions that are in the chat. And when the recording is sent out to you afterwards, we'll send it with a document of these are the other questions that were asked that we didn't have time to answer, and we'll answer those there. So you will get the answers to the questions, even if they're not directly answered during this call. So let's see if we've got anything coming through on the chat. Oh, hold on, there we go. There's a good one. What support is there for a student who has never completed a 5,000 word written project before? Really good question. Thanks for that one. On the Moodle, we have something called the Project Writing Assistance area. And within that area, there is loads, well, Phoebe, you'll be able to verify this for me, lots and lots of information. There's study skills sessions, there's how to get started, how to plan your project, how to structure an essay. There's so much information there as online study skills and also written guidance and information. But besides that, Emily and I also facilitate support calls, separate ones for students and supervisors, and we do them every 2 weeks. Focusing especially on if there's particular milestones or deadlines coming up, we'll focus on what you should be doing at that point, go through any processes. So there's lots and lots of information and guidance, both on the Moodle and through email and through Teams phone calls. So hopefully you'll feel very, very supported. Em, do you want to take the next one about how do we begin as a new student? Are you happy to take that?
Yeah, so to begin as a new student, it depends how you want to enroll. So if you want to be a school-based learner, which means that you are doing it through your school and your supervisor is provided by the school as a teacher or a tutor. If that's the case, then the teacher will get in contact with us, and if you are on this cohort, then you can just send us across. We send you a template for enrolment, and we just send that back because it's DSIT funded. If you are independent and you don't have it through your school, or your school doesn't facilitate it, then you become an independent learner, and that is £550, and you can just contact us through the emails that we're about to put on the screen, and we can set all that up for you. I think that's, if I've missed anything, Nicky, there.
No, I think we're all good. That particular person, I think, is ready to join the next cohort, it says in the chat. So we look forward to welcoming you. Just to let you know as well, Andy is still on the call. He's around for another 5 minutes. So if anyone's got any specific supervisor-based questions, then if you can pop them in now, that would be an ideal time to do it. If not, if Andy has to leave, then we can answer them afterwards. Was there, I thought I'd seen one just now. Is there any benefit to doing this course as a university student and onwards, or is it more targeted towards pre-uni? I have to say, this is Jamie that's asked this question. Jamie, the majority of our cohort is made up of students that are in sixth form, but the CyberEPQ is actually open to anyone aged 14 or above. So there's nothing stopping you as someone that may be already at uni, continually developing and doing the course anyway. You know, it's the more the merrier as far as I'm concerned, and you may find that it, you know, it gives you sort of additional skills as you go along anyway that might be useful and transferable into things that you may go on to do after that point. So the majority are sixth form students, but we have had somebody that was in their 90s. We have actually had students that are younger than 14, but what we can't do is submit their work to City and Guilds until they reach the age of registration, which is 14. But the simple answer is the majority of the students are school-based, but yes, you should still do it, absolutely. One question that I was asked earlier, oh, sorry, are we to be completing our 5,000 word essay whilst we are progressing through the course? Phoebe, do you want to take that one? Are you happy to take that one about how you did your essay?
So yeah, I would just block a certain amount of time per week to do my EPQ alongside. So I can't remember exactly what time it was, but it was I think it was a very busy period at the start of upper sixth for me because I did the 2-year course. So I spent the summer researching, and then I did my first draft at the end of summer, and then alongside all of my studies, I would spend a certain number of hours per week writing the essay alongside. I think, is that the answer to the question? I don't know if you're talking about the Moodle, because I did that before any research. Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, Phoebe, for that. It's a little while ago to remember how you did it now, isn't it, as well? So as Emily's explained, you work through those modules that are on the Moodle. The essay, you don't actually start drafting your essay until you've received approval for your project proposal. You have to receive approval because we need to make sure that the project that you're going to do is safe and ethical and achievable, that you're not going to sort of get yourself onto any websites that you shouldn't be visiting on the dark web or anything like that. So we need to make sure it's all above board and fine. And then you start actually drafting your essay after you've received approval. So for that 1-year cohort, so the one that runs to the academic year, you'll submit your project proposal in the January time, and so you have between January and March to complete the essay and do the presentation. For the extended cohort, this is where it gets slightly complicated because our extended cohort is actually split into 2 sub-cohorts now. We're currently going through project proposals for the early part of that extended cohort, so they can start writing up their essays anytime in the next couple of weeks, but they have until November to complete. For the later cohort, their project proposals are due, I think it's June the 10th from memory, so anytime from June to November you'll have to write up that essay. So a bit of a complicated answer, but yeah, it's straightforward when you know what you're doing, and we'll be there to help you. Another question, what happens? Oh, I'm going to just come back to the one about what happens about deadlines, because there's one from Andy and I know that he has to go. Andy's put, regarding deadlines, I've had a couple of students who have needed to drop out of the EPQ, but the extended 2-year cohort makes it easier. So that's a really good point to make. But going back to that other one about the extended deadlines, do you want to take that one about what happens if it gets too much?
Yeah, so if deadlines become too much, basically what we offer to do is move students over to the next cohort. So like Nicky said, we run the 2 cohorts and our extended is split into 2. So there's lots of opportunities if you're doing the 1-year course and you start on that and you feel like it's too much, to move over to the extended course, and that just stretches the deadlines out for you. And there's obviously always that opportunity to just move on to the next cohort so that you can still do the CyberEPQ. And so that's why it's really recommended that you kind of start on the 1-year cohort, and then if that becomes too much, you can move over to the extended. But I think the way that normally exams run and everything, the extended gives everyone, like Phoebe said, a really good amount of time, because you have that summer holidays as well to work and get through it. So hopefully it's manageable.
Thanks, Emily. One thing that we didn't touch on in the actual webinar bit, but I think is important to raise as well, for school-based supervisors and our independent supervisors, but for the school-based ones, all our supervisors that are marking projects need to complete our training for marking and standardisation, and that's because we're a national cohort, so we need to make sure that our marking is sort of fair and consistent for all students across the cohort. Full details will be given to any supervisors that will need to complete the training, but just to say it is available on the Moodle in the supervisors area, and with engagement shouldn't take you sort of much longer than a couple of hours, and then we give you feedback, and that's pretty much the training done. But an important point I thought I ought to raise. Does anyone have any questions from an industry perspective, or anything that they need Lucy to answer with? I'm aware that she's waiting there for a lovely question to come through, so I'm just seeing if there's anything ready for Lucy.
Spent all day talking, but do feel free to ask. I can answer questions.
I'm just having a look. Can a school have more than one supervisor? The answer to that is yes, they can. We have a number of schools that, especially if they've got a larger cohort, have more than one supervisor allocated to their group. We group students with their supervisors on the Moodle, so the supervisor is able to go on and look at, they can't go on to student profiles, but they can go on to look at grade reports and see how students are progressing through the Moodle and how they're getting on with submissions and things like that. But we can allocate more than one supervisor to each group, so you can have as many supervisors as you like per students within the school, so that's fine. Any other questions? Oh, there we go, there's another one just popped through. Could a school's development team engage individual alumni to invest at the lower level to support places on this CyberEPQ? Claire, good question. Yes, I think is the very simple answer to that. Sorry, I'm just reading back. I'm thinking and talking at the same time, and my brain's not computing at this time of day. A school's development team engage individual alumni. Absolutely, 100%. And talking of alumni, we've already briefly mentioned about our alumni group. That's another important thing to say. Get involved with the alumni group. It's not used as much as it can be. Lots of our students that go through, well, all the students that come onto the CyberEPQ, even if they haven't finished the course, are invited to join the alumni group. When they graduate, they're invited to join the alumni group, but it's also open to supervisors and to industry as well. We want it to be that networking place that people can find out about apprenticeship schemes or degree courses or things that are going on in the industry that are really important. So yeah, please do make use of that alumni, because it's a really great resource, but it's just not used enough at the moment, so that would be really good. But yeah, alumni definitely to be supporting places on the CyberEPQ, 100%. Thank you, Claire, for that question. I'm just conscious of time because we're just coming up to almost our hour is done. So are there any other questions before we do a little wrap up at the end?
I was just going to say another thing which I find schools ask a lot as well is about their examinations officer and the involvement that they need. But because we're the centre and we go through city and guilds, everything comes through us. So no schools need to engage our examinations officer, all the admin and everything, because we're the centre, goes through us. I think that's something I was just going to add.
Fabulous. Thanks, Em. Right, I'm just going to pop that last slide up now so that you have our details. So firstly, thank you to our guest speakers that have joined us today. We really appreciate the time that you've given us to share your experiences and hopefully inspire lots of new students and schools and businesses to be a part of the CyberEPQ in the future. We've got our contact details here that you can see on screen. So our website address, if you want to just find out more information about CIISec as an organisation generally. There's my email address, nicky.bodily@ciisec.org, and Emily's, emily.harfield@ciisec.org. Please feel free to email either, both of us, whichever one you want. We'd rather have duplicate emails than not have any emails at all. There's also our LinkedIn and our X, as it is now, not Twitter, isn't it? Details there if you want to go on socials. Thank you also to Ellie and Izzy from our CIISec marketing team who've facilitated the whole webinar for us today. Without you, we couldn't have done it. So thank you for your support too. And yeah, any questions, you can email us because we've run out of time now. We'll do our best to answer them. We'll send out a copy of the recording or a link to the recording, and any other questions that may come in, we'll answer them too. But thank you once again for joining us today, and we look forward to hopefully working with you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you.